When most people think of Japanese history, one of two figures enters their minds. Samurai being one, and the other being the ninja. The ninja are a staple of pop culture now more so than most other historical figures. Ninja have taken over the imaginations of people all over the world, be it in anime, comics, TV shows, movies, or novels. The iconographic appearance and style of ninja is everywhere, and that includes For Honor. But who are the Shinobi? What were they really in history? Let's talk about it. Welcome back to Heroes in History, where we take a look at all of For Honor's heroes and figure out what they are really based on in history and whether or not they do their counterparts justice. And today, we're taking a look at the Shinobi. Now, it's pretty obvious who the Shinobi are based off of. It's in the name itself. The Shinobi are based off of the real Shinobi who existed in feudal Japan during the Sengoku and Edo period, though it's speculated they might have had a presence as early as the 12th century. Pop culture has told us all we need to know about the Shinobi, right? They are shadowy warriors, cloaked in darkness. Farmers who were sick of their oppressive samurai and daimyo masters rose up and used underhanded and dishonorable tactics to fight against their tyrannical rulers. Masters of assassination and death, they can sneak into the most well-fortified castles and fortresses and murder their targets without ever being seen. Armed with hidden and secret ninja tools that were designed to defeat more well-equipped and armored samurai, they are as untouchable as they are unkillable, learning lost, secret, and even magical techniques to teach them to slow their heart rate, to become invisible, to hide in plain sight, and to master medicines, poisons, and powders, all of which, given the illusion they were mystical forces of darkness. Armed with blades and throwing stars, these deadly killers have proven that they stand the test of time, and were masters of survival, disguise, combat, and death. And all of what I just said is pretty much fabrication. Sorry, weeaboos and Gaijin Goombah fans, but we need to be honest here. While the Shinobi are pretty exceptional and have a huge presence in our pop culture, anime, and media, the Shinobi are not so easily understood as these magical, shadowy death assassins. Today, we're going to break down what the Shinobi actually were and dispel a few myths. Let's start with the very word Shinobi. Now, the Japanese have two ways of reading their kanji. There's the onyomi and the kunyomi. Since most kanji are based on Chinese script, then the onyomi is the Chinese method of reading the symbols, while the kunyomi is the Japanese reading. In this case, when you look at these symbols, which translate to what the Shinobi or ninja is, the onyomi reading of the symbol is ninja. Nin meaning concealed, invisible, or patient, and ja meaning person or man. Thus, the two symbols combined mean concealed person or patient person. Now, the kunyomi reading of the two symbols is actually shinobi no mono, which has the same meaning. Shinobi, meaning concealed, invisible, or patient, and mono, meaning person, man, or individual. Now, the word no can very roughly be a way of saying of, as in applying a word to another. So, combining all three creates the meaning of one of patience, one of invisibility, or one of concealment. Most people now use the word shinobi as the shortened version of shinobi no mono. From that name alone, we now have an understanding of what shinobi were meant to be, patient and concealed. Now, why am I making this definition a big deal? For this reason. Notice that the word assassination is nowhere in the translation. I'll tell you why. Because that wasn't a prerequisite skill, nor was it a requirement for being a shinobi. Shinobi were not strictly assassins, martial artists, or warriors. Shinobi were spies. They were special operatives, CIA, MI6, stuff like that. They were intelligence units who gathered intel, stole intel, created misdirection, placed false intelligence, sabotaged, and certainly they could assassinate if needed to. And there are a few cases in history of assassination attempts made by them, such as one named Saika Magoichi on the life of Oda Nobunaga himself. So assassination wasn't unheard of, but it wasn't their only job, nor was it their primary job. Shinobi were trained and paid to spy on enemies and obtain information and intel to sabotage enemy encampments or to spread misinformation and to hide in plain sight, disrupting enemy activities as best they can. You get the gist. They were essentially the equivalent of special operations forces who were designed and intended to gain information, deliver false information, sabotage, or what have you, anything to help your side get an edge. Now, while we're dispelling some myths, let's deal with a few others. Firstly, the whole black uniform thing. There are a lot of problems with this, so let's break them all down. Firstly, black is an expensive dye to acquire for clothing at this point in time. You'd have to be pretty wealthy to get black for all of your clothing. Secondly, black sticks out even at night. If you look outside at night, you'll notice at nighttime that there are far more colors than black in the night. A better color might be something like dark blue or indigo. Now, does that mean the ninja never wore black? No, they could have, but I doubt it was common. And the most important aspect of all to keep in mind is, I think it's silly to think a special covert operations agent would have a standard uniform for work. I doubt there was a ninja recruitment office where they handed you your black uniform and said, all right, there you go, you're a ninja now. That's why Naruto headbands always struck me as kind of stupid. Ninja are supposed to be stealthy and secretive, but wearing a headband that straight up reveals who you represent and work for is kind of dumb. It defeats the purpose of secrecy. I believe it's far more likely that shinobi hid in plain sight by wearing normal clothes, kimonos, and peasant garb. Anything that would help them blend into the environment, because you can literally stand in plain sight and no one's the wiser. Next, let's talk about the big one, ninja weapons and martial arts. You've likely heard of the various weapons and martial arts developed exclusively by ninja. Ninjutsu being the big one, but there's also the Ninjato, the Kusarigama, the Shuriken, the Kunai, and the Nekokage. Well, sorry folks, the Ninjato has no record in history that we know of, and most that exist that we see today were made in the modern era. The Kusarigama, Shuriken, and Kunai were all used by samurai as well, and the Nekokage is likely more of a climbing tool than a combat tool. As for the legendary powers of ninjutsu, ninjutsu is more of the study of espionage. Consider the name again. Jutsu means way of, or path, while nin means concealment or patience. So the meaning is way of patience or way of concealment. Besides, many ninja who did study martial arts would likely have just learned jujitsu, judo, or any other form of hand-to-hand combat already pioneered by the samurai. The assertions that shinobi pioneered whole new means of combat, survival, and tools is unlikely at best and laughable at worst, when the shinobi had so much else to draw from and use from the samurai themselves. Which leads me to another major misconception, that samurai and ninja were mortal enemies or rivals. I can assure you they were not. In the TV show Deadliest Warrior, when they were doing the Spartan versus the ninja experts argued that the ninja were once farmers and peasants who were oppressed by samurai and rose up to fight them. This is untrue, as not only were shinobi sometimes hired by samurai to spy or to steal, but there were some samurai who were ninja themselves, such as Hattori Hanzo, the most famous ninja in history, who was both a samurai and a ninja. This is because, keep this in mind guys, a samurai is a member of a social class, but a ninja is an occupation, something you're paid to do. A samurai is someone you're born as. You are born samurai, but a ninja is something you live to do, and some samurai could be ninja. Now, the closing point that I want to get out there. The shinobi were primarily spies and secret agents of feudal Japan. There are many moments in history in which the samurai employed ninjas, had to fight against ninjas, and dealt with ninjas. Ninjas could have been anyone from a peasant to a whore to a high-ranking samurai. They could be hired to assassinate from time to time, sure, but it wasn't their primary job, and it wasn't the only thing they had to do. It wasn't what their job was all about. So people who say that ninja were just super deadly assassins and masters of martial arts, not quite true. They were the eyes in the dark and the shadows on the wall meant to gather intel, steal wealth, spread misinformation, sabotage defenses, weaken strongholds, and anything else to get an edge. They could be martial artists, assassins, and even samurai, but they were so much more. A common story that I like to try and tell in its shortened version is, a samurai walks home from visiting with his daimyo and meets a traveling monk. The monk asks him how he's doing, and the samurai says he's doing well. He was just given a very nice sizable increase in his fief thanks to the daimyo. The monk blesses him and he goes on his way. He then passes by a fisherman who says that the main road out of town is being harassed by bandits and he wants to know if there's a safer way somewhere else. The samurai kindly points him to a forest pathway that should be safe. The fisherman thanks him and goes on his way. Before going home, the samurai decides to stop off at a brothel and have a lovely geisha pleasure him for the evening, because why not? And then he goes back home. The next day, he wakes to find that his daimyo, his master, has been assassinated, and that his master's enemies have stormed his town and are taking over. At some point along the way, a shinobi was involved. But who was the shinobi? Was it the monk? Was it the fisherman? Was it the geisha? It could have been all of them. It could have been none of them. Who knows? And that's what's so scary. For me, that's what makes the shinobi even more scary. Sure, a guy with a hood and a dagger trying to kill me in the dark is scary. Yeah, absolutely. But what's even scarier is the sense that someone could be watching me at all hours of the day. studying me, someone in my home, my neighborhood, my place of work, the bartender who I get drinks from, the nice girl jogging by, that old man feeding the birds, the little boy playing catch with his ball. Who's my enemy? Who's my ally? Who's my friend? Who's the shadow on the wall? Who's plotting against me and for who? Who's selling my information to my real enemies? The paranoia that comes with being a powerful samurai or daimyo and knowing a shinobi clan or organization could be hired to spy on you is a heavy burden and is part of the reason why the shinobi has gained the reputation they have. It's all about the uncertainty, the knowledge they could be anywhere or nowhere at all. As many people have pointed out, knowledge is power, and since the shinobi peddle in knowledge and spreading it, taking it, dropping false knowledge, gathering true knowledge, selling it to the right people, they were incredibly powerful. So why do we have this modern interpretation of shinobi as super cool, near supernatural assassins? Well, part of it is what I just mentioned. Their reputation for stirring up paranoia and uncertainty led to rumors and legends about their feats, which the shinobi allowed to spread to create more fear that they could exploit. I believe the ancient shinobi would be pleased to know their legacy has become so popularized and immortalized today. But there's another factor. For one thing, it sells really well. The reason the Iga Ninja Museum in Iga, Japan, which Gaijin Goombah often quotes as one of his sources for information, is so popular is because it sells a narrative of a cool Japan, which encourages the international world to look on Japan favorably. Think about how popular ninja are around the world. If people around the world buy ninja merchandise or books or pay to learn fabricated martial arts in Japan to be more like ninja, then that's more money in the pocket of the Japanese economy. Sell a lie that makes people happy and make money off of it. Who's unhappy with that? But as Stephen Turnbull pointed out in his very good book, Ninja Unmasking the Legend, I'll leave a link to the book and his website in the description, the Ninja History Museum is, as he says, quote, a blend of entertainment with irritation. It succeeds to some extent in its aim of presenting the reality behind the ninja concept, although the fantasy ninja and the historical shinobi tend to get horribly mixed up, and if there is a conflict, the commercial needs to triumph. The visitor may be even more baffled by attending the ninjutsu demonstration in the adjacent purpose-built area. It is very well done and highly entertaining, but it leaves one such confusion about what was ever real about the ninja that a healthy dose of ninja beer becomes a vital necessity. End quote. Sorry, Goombah, and all you weeaboos out there, but the museum you reference is not a reliable source of information.
How many other lies have I been told by the council?
This isn't to say I hate the pop culture interpretation of ninja, not at all. I love plenty of them. I love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They were what got me interested in martial arts very early on in my youth. And sure, I have issues with Naruto, but those are more of a narrative issue. I have more issues with the storytelling and the characters. The concepts they develop can sometimes be really, really cool, and I gotta admit, there are things about the ninja world in Naruto that I find awesome. I can say with no regret that I love some of the crazy pop culture ninja interpretations that exist, but what we need to do is be aware of the history versus the fantasy. Ninja exist as they do in pop culture because of the lack of real information we can nail down about them. Ninja are strange, mysterious, and amazing to contemplate, and because there are so many holes in what we know about them, we like to fill those holes with pop culture media and reference, and the amount of inspiration that can provide for stories and games is near limitless. This was a video about For Honor, right? I'm sorry. It's clear when playing Shinobi in For Honor that he is heavily influenced by the pop culture version of the Shinobi. While they aren't wearing all black in most of their outfits and their attire is somewhat diverse, they still wear your classic ninja apparel armed with various small tools and items. Some even carry sai knives as well, which I'm sorry to say isn't accurate since sai knives are an Okinawa weapon and wouldn't be used in mainland Japan until the age of the ninja, but I digress. The Kusarigama they wield is nothing like what a real Kusarigama was. This is one of the big issues I had early on with the ninja. The real Kusarigama is a single sickle with a chain and weight attached to the bottom of it. The spinning chain was designed to create distance and keep an opponent at bay lest they get struck by the weight. Then one could snare the opponent and close the distance quickly with the sickle. I regard the actual Kusarigama as impractical at best. Its best use is to maintain a distance between yourself and the enemy, but against a well-armored warrior, it would require incredibly precise blows to be meaningfully lethal. The kama itself isn't an impossible weapon to see in a fight, but it is bladed and long enough that it could puncture someone. However, the kama's shape and bladed portion is not conducive to a good weapon. The sharp edge is on the inside of the weapon, meaning that to use it for slashing, you must somehow get close enough to angle the blade enough to cut with the inside of the kama, a hard thing to accomplish. And the other option is to stab with the weapon, but the problem here is that stab wounds with a blade this small means the odds of getting a lethal blow are not favorable. And even if you do manage to plunge the kama into the enemy, you're now close enough to the enemy that they could get hold of you or hurt you. The For Honor Shinobi's kama are dual kama set that are tied to chains attached to the ninja's arm. In the past meta, the shinobi could spin these kama and hurl them at the enemy scorpion style to yank the enemy to them or to somehow strike them at long distance, and consistently recoil the kama back to them instantly. This is not only physically impossible, but as was proven in the meta, all one has to do is get hold of that kama and yank hard, and you've removed your weapon's effectiveness and exposed yourself. In the new meta, the shinobi only throws it after a successful kick, and this is a bit more believable, as it would be easy to hit a disoriented enemy, but recovering the kama that quickly is still a little hard to believe. The movements of the ninja are highly acrobatic, able to dodge, backflip, tumble, roll, do flying roundhouse kicks, and various other high-level moves in quick and seamless succession. This fits the fast and fluid fighting style pop culture and media attributes to the shinobi, and it's entertaining to watch and use, but in the real world, armored opponents wouldn't be that bothered by the kama weapon. The way the shinobi uses them in their heavies is a jumping slash and then a follow-up slash to bring them down. This is one practical way I could see the kama using, a hooking device to bring down an enemy by grabbing a limb or their shoulders. I could genuinely see that as a practical use, though that's highly situational. Now, I don't hate Shinobi. In fact, I'm glad Shinobi was added to the game. I think they're a creative and refreshing take on what For Honor can bring to the table. They might have been secret agents in history, but here they are killers, make no mistake about that. For Honor is a game about legendary warriors taking the field of battle. Some legends come to test their merit, and some become legends through conflict. As legends grow and die, one legend remains to stand amongst them all. A legend before they were even present. A myth before they ever drew up arms. Even their allies were unsure if they existed, until they emerged to confirm their presence. And now that you know they are real, keep your back covered and double check every shadow. They're there. They're watching. And they're waiting to strike. Thank you for watching this Heroes in History, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.
Clearly outnumbered.
That's true. But you are clearly outmatched.
Oh no! Got you, homie!
So we meet again!